So what is today's topic? Well, today's topic, according to one of my followers, was the fires of Gehenna. What are the fires of Gehenna? And I think that is an excellent question to be answered, and we'll get into that right now. Fires of Gehenna, where did that come from? What is it? For any of you that don't know, for, you Bible thumpers, you're Christians, then you'll know, right? The fires of Gehenna was a garbage dump outside of Jerusalem, and it had been burning nonstop for centuries, right? Child sacrifices were held there, and those bodies were thrown onto the fire and, tortured or burned or whatever was taking place. So the fires of Gehenna were simply a huge, massive garbage dump outside of Jerusalem, the outskirts of Jerusalem. And that's all it really was. But the church took that and twisted it into what you know as the lake of fire, right? Or hell. Remember in my video, does hell really exist? Hell does not exist. But that is where they got the idea of the lake of fire. Everlasting damnation, cast into the pit of burning, fires. And when Jesus confronted the leaders of the time, the Pharisees, and he was, disgusted with what was taking place, his comment was, how would you like it if your body was thrown on that and burned forever? He threw it back onto them as, this practice is disgusting and horrid, right? And it's true, but that is where the Catholic Church got their idea of hell and wrote it into the Bible as a scare tactic. Remember in the video that I said, hell does not exist. Hell is a state of mind. Well, they use this example of this pit of fire to keep you living in fear. But it was simply a garbage dump, where you take all your stuff from your own home, right, that you don't want, and you, back in the day when I was little, you took it to the dump, right? You dumped it off there. They took it from you and threw it into a big pit. The same thing was happening here, ladies and gentlemen, but this was just 2 millennia ago. So all of this stuff was just heaped in there, and again, sacrifices, child sacrifices were taking place there for whatever reason, and it was simply that, nothing more. And Jesus confronted those that were, the leaders of the time and said it was unacceptable. This, cannot take place. We cannot be doing this. And that is really where the Catholic Church grabbed a hold of that, right? And thus creating the atmosphere of hell, because any of you, being around fire, it's hot, it's warm, and it's really unpleasant to be burned. So that's where they instilled that fear in you, that you will be cast into a pit of hell, into a lake of fire. It simply doesn't exist, guys. It doesn't exist. It's more of the imagination that you run wild with the crap and the church jargon that they're giving you, all right? The same thing with the devil, right? Or, Lucifer. Lucifer does exist. He's a beautiful angel. He's at home with Father. It is impossible for an angel to fall, period. End of subject. And anybody that believes in that, again, does not believe in God, has no clue who God is, and therefore would believe in evil. Say, well, evil exists. Look at all these beheadings. Look at all these rapes and molestations. Look at all these school shootings. Evil does not exist. Evil and cruelty are simply a gift humanity gave itself. Nothing more. Has nothing to do with God. God did not create this place. We did. He's just following the rules that we set up for ourselves. And most of you don't like that. Well, then you need to change. But that is where the church got the idea of hell. And thus, Lucifer. which, we can backpedal even further, right? When I told you, where did fear come from? Right? When we all decided that we wanted to run the show and stepped away from oneness. And what is oneness? Father. You being the direct manifestation of your Father, a God, right? When you stepped away from that and went like this to God and said, I'm not you, I'm an individual, right? You therefore created fear, guilt, and the ego. And thus you believe in that separation so strongly. You believe so strongly in the dream that you're having, this hallucination, that it's real, when in fact it's not. There's nothing here that is real. But that's where your fear came from. And those powers to be 2 millennia ago that set this up are keeping you living in that fear. And it's wrong. And I'm here to tell you it's wrong. The fires of Gehenna were nothing more than a worthless, stinking garbage dump. That's it. Where horrific practices were taking place. No more horrific than the war in Ukraine, and no more horrific than the war in Gaza. It's still just as horrific, however you look at it. Okay? We are the ones that have to change. You all need to let go of that stupid book. God does not care about your religion. God does not care about any type of religion in any way. He does not care for or acknowledge any laws that we have subjugated ourselves to enslave ourselves to in this worthless society that we created that keeps us living in fear. The church ran away with that. Remember who wrote the Bible, and if you don't know, I have a video on that, the greatest lie ever told. The church wrote the Bible. The Catholic Church took over the writing of the Gospels from the Jews, because even by the time of Christ, the Jews had not finally decided upon what would be the canonical scriptures of the Old Testament, right? The Catholic Church did, finally, in the year 100, 32 AD, right? They finally decided upon the New Testament. The church wrote the Bible. And you are all, like I was, ignorant enough to believe it. Now, this comes directly from God. All right? Directly. For all of you doubters, haters, and all of that out there, if I made you mad, if I pissed you off, good. That means I've done my job. The only reason you're hating me and slamming me is because I make you see the darkness within yourself. You don't know it. You just say, I'm an idiot or whatever it is, and you hate me. Good. But it's really because I make you see the darkness within yourself. All right? If you did not experience something, you have no business commenting on it or believing in it. If all you got was your knowledge from a book, you have no business commenting on it. How can I talk about my near-death experience in this? I died. I experienced it. I know the truth. But if all you've got is a stupid book that was written by rich, powerful men 2 millennia ago to keep the ignorant in control, then you're no more ignorant than they were. And that is all the fires of Gehenna really were, just this stupid garbage dump where child sacrifices were taking place. And they used those eternal flames because the garbage dump it never went out. It was constantly burning. So the eternal pit of hell was created by the church. And it has kept all of you living in fear, as it did me for 49 years of my life until my death. And I realized it doesn't exist. It's not there. None of what you have been told or taught has been the truth. Those NDEers and like myself that are talking about controversial subjects are telling you the truth. I've been called New Age, the stuff that I'm teaching. This isn't New Age. Jesus was talking about this 2 millennia ago, and his name isn't Jesus. It's Yeshua Bar Yosef. He was born a Jew. Christianity did not exist back then. He was a Jew, a Middle Eastern man, a black man. Period. Everything that the church has given you have been smoke and mirrors. Jesus is not a middle-aged white man like myself out of, Wisconsin. No, he was a Middle Eastern man. And that's all I really have to say on this. This really isn't going to be an in-depth topic. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't exist. It was simply a garbage dump. And that is where the Catholic Church took it and ran with it. And it has been there for 2 millennia. And I'm here to dispel it. Hell is simply a state of mind. If you choose suffering, if you choose pain, if you choose dementia, if you choose to be depressed, that's free will. And that is what you are going to create. You're a God. You will create that. If you choose happiness and abundance, then that is what is going to come to you. You are the creator of your world. Hell does not exist. It doesn't. And I would encourage all of you who are watching this to simply sit down and go into my other videos that I've created for you guys and watch it. The Greatest Lie Ever Told. All right? I explain it pretty well. I could have done it better, but I was new at it back then, so it is what it is. I don't want to overcomplicate this. All right? It's simply a garbage dump that was outside of Jerusalem. And that's it. The Catholic Church took it, twisted it, and said, that's where you're going to go. You're going to burn for all of eternity for the slightest infractions. And don't think for 1 minute that you get a get out of jail free card because the Catholic Church says Jesus came here to save you from sin. It doesn't. No, I'm sorry. That's not what he was here for. And he made it abundantly clear that he was not here for that. That once again, it was the church that twisted his teachings into your worthless jargon that you all want to believe in. And most of you following my channel do not believe in that any longer. And that is beautiful. Spread the message. Spread these videos. Bring them to people's attention because we need to. We're running out of time. But anyway, I wanted to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. I love all of you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your love and support. And for those that support my channel financially, I am forever in your debt. I love you with all my heart and soul. If there's something that you want me to talk about, please put it down there in the comments. I will get to it as quickly as I can. But this one was just a short, sweet one. And that's it, guys. I love you. I hope you have a blessed Sunday, and I hope you have a beautiful day. I love you all very much.